Okay, today we're talking about Elbaf, and not just Elbaf when it comes to the island and what's going on at the beginning of this arc, but we're going to talk about outside of Elbaf as well. We're going to really dive into the lore and compare it to like Skypia and other arcs and how this affects the end of One Piece, because we are in the final saga, and I'm with King Recon today. Say what up, Recon.
And my brother, it's good to be here, man. Much love to the the individuals who love their share of lasagna, you know, over on the Mac channel. I appreciate every single one of y'all. So excited to be here to talk about some Elbaf Final Saga. Let's go.
100%. We're talking about Elbaf, and stay tuned. We might do a Hunter x Hunter discussion or stream or something in the future, so definitely stay tuned for that. But yeah, today we're gonna do a One Piece Elbaf discussion, and the first thing I gotta mention, Recon, is what are your thoughts on the whole Skypia vibes? Because I can't be the only one feeling this vibe in the beginning of this arc.
No, yeah, absolutely not, man. Like from the moment this arc started, obviously with the first couple of chapters where it felt very adventure, peace, very it reminded me of like when you took the knock-up stream and you really didn't know what you were getting into when you were going into Skypia, and you finally get there and you see how crazy everything is, the scale of it, right, with that first initial panel of Elbaf whenever you see Loki, and you zoom out and see what the island is, split into this giant tree that's split into 3 different parts, 3 different realms. And so just even on the adventure side, it feels like Skypia. But then you get the recent stuff with the lore, and it's tying back to so many things, from Louis Arno to Nika to the things that have been brought up that were so prevalent within that arc, both thematically as well as in regards to the timeline and the lore of the series. It's like it's all starting to connect now, and many of those connections started all the way back then. And so I'm feeling heavy Skypia vibes in like every single way, and I love it.
Yeah, I would agree too, and I feel like it's doing Skypia in like multiple layers, because you have the abstract like version of Skypia where like you see the lore and like the connection and how it's connected to the overall story. Because Skypia, a lot of people don't understand, like that arc is actually connected to the overall story more than like any other arc. Though people think you could skip it and like don't really watch it or read it, no, it's very important. And then I feel like also like the concrete aspect of it when it comes to like the island clouds, the sea clouds, and you mentioned them.
Correct.
Yeah, the scenery of Elbaf and going up the knockup stream. And I think it's gonna get really like close to Skypia too when we get to that third realm, the Heaven realm, because that's when you can introduce like that final Worst Generation member, Mad Monk Rouge, who is connected to the Birkins and the priest that we saw in Upper Yard with NL. You can even bring back NL as well, and maybe connected to Nami and how she's leveled up with her Zeus and her powers and stuff like that. So I think there's definitely different elements to Skypia that Oda's bringing with Elbaf. And honestly, I feel like when it comes to Louis Arnold too as well, like Nolan and all that stuff, and how it connected to the bell ringing and the Shandians, like it's just crazy.
Yes. Yeah. And it's, bro, there's it's no coincidence that the Jaya squad is the one that just now got split up to go adventure by themselves. Nami, Zoro, and Luffy were the same 3 that went on to Jaya to go in that initial adventure section. And now they're going to go out and explore a section of Elbaf that we haven't seen yet. And so I don't think that's a coincidence. That's very intentional on Oda's part.
Yeah, I want to ask you too, when it comes to Elbaf, we're seeing this whole Shanks dilemma that's going on right now with because obviously I'm thinking about Gonfall too, because Gonfall was like a Sky Knight, and now these Holy Knights are coming asking Loki to join and whatnot. But when it comes to Shanks and the whole Fakerland situation there, that nothing's been confirmed yet. Like it's been alluded to, but like nothing's been confirmed. Like the whole God Valley, how he's found when he was 1 year old, and Fakerland Garland was there when Roger was there. So like there's definitely been a lot of hints to it, but nothing's been confirmed yet. But with now this connecting to the Gorisei meeting and how Shanks' twin or brother, whatever his name is, was asking about a certain pirate. Who was that pirate? Was it Loki? We don't know. I want to ask you, like, when it comes to this whole Shanks plotline, because we know in Jaya and Skypia, Shanks is not really prevalent like that heavily, but you do see that moment where Blackbeard is talking and Luffy thinks about Shanks and like how in the whole situation with Bellamy and the bar and like how don't fight back, how Luffy stole that from Shanks when he first saw that in chapter 1. So what do you think Oda's going with this whole Elbaf Shanks situation here? Because it looks like this is very Shanks heavy. Like, honestly, as a fan, I'm kind of scared. I'm a Shanks fan. So I'm thinking, is there a lot of death flags going on?
Hey,
like,
same here. Same here. I'm right there with you.
So what do you think?
Actually, tying back to what we were just talking about, another element that was introduced within Giant Skypia were the Gorosei, and the importance of what would later become the hierarchy as we know it, right? As like Imu to the Gorosei, which then leads into the Holy Knights. And so what fascinated me specifically with the most recent chapter is that now that we have a confirmation that Gunko has like this arrow ability, which is obviously very reminiscent to that of Imu and what Imu utilized against Cobra and Sabo, it made me start thinking about Stabs or whoever, Shanks' brother, or this individual that's here on the island, and what Oda's cooking in regards to why this character is here and what importance is this character going to have. Because obviously throughout the course of, like you said, the time skip up until this point, every time we think back to certain things like chapter 907 with the certain pirate, that now we don't know whether that was Shanks or this Stabs character or whoever it is. Same thing with we could even think about like another sequence where it could have been Stabs instead of him. And there's been multiple different hints going into the little dope spread that showcased the character holding a sword similar to Shanks' Griffin, then going back to even the initial silhouette of the Holy Knights. It's like the hints have always been there. And now I wonder where Oda's going with this. Because going back to, of course, when Garling was introduced, and now that Garling himself is a Gorosei, the Figureland family is obviously going to be extremely important heading into the final saga. Shanks being a Figureland alone lets us know it's going to be really important. But now as the major players start getting into play, and knowing that Shanks is tied to this arc, Shanks was the one, as confirmed by last chapter, that we more than likely can speculate now that he got Yonko status because of what he did to Loki here, and tying him up all of those years ago, as well as his connection to Elbaf. It's almost like his territory. So to have this other Shanks-like figure, because of course we still don't know the situation at hand. It could be Shanks himself and Oda's trolling us, or it is this twin brother / clone / whatever it is. But regardless, I just want to know what the payoff is, because having a Shanks-like dude here, of course, means this character's going to run into Luffy eventually. And what is that going to mean? Is he going to recognize, oh, this is Shanks and this is their like actual meeting that we've been waiting for this entire time? Or is it not Shanks? And he runs into this character and immediately finds out, or maybe he gets bamboozled for a little bit. I don't know what's going to happen there, but those possibilities are super, super exciting. And it's not just Luffy. If the other individuals on this island also love and value Shanks in the way they do, if this is a Shanks clone, then how are they going to react when this dude just starts bodying everyone? You know what I'm saying? Or starts doing some crazy stuff. It could actually really taint Shanks' image and or make them question what is actually going on in regards to this character. Because Luffy's probably going to be like, yo, there's no way this is Shanks. Y'all know Shanks. Like, he would never do anything like this. And so there's so many different possibilities that could happen because of this character here that in and of itself makes it extremely exciting, which is why I love the plot line. And obviously, as a massive Shanks fan, whether this is Shanks himself and we're seeing some super crazy, we can't believe our eyes type of deal where he's actually a Holy Knight and he has the summoning circle and he's moving different here with Loki, or this is a clone of Shanks, and that's going to allow us an opportunity to be able to explore the family, explore the origins of Shanks and a brother-like figure or clone-like figure. That's also really exciting for me as a Shanks fan. So either way, I'm going to be winning, but I'm looking forward at the future of like, what is Oda's long-term plan with this character, especially since it's the very first Holy Knight that we're meeting, and it's an Elbaf. It's got to be huge. This is an arc he's been planning for such a long time, so I already know he has something really, really big planned, especially with the last two times we saw Shanks, were him bodying Kid, and then Yasop bodying Bartolomeo, which are two things that, of course, is going to have, especially the Bartolomeo thing, having an impact on the next time that Luffy meets with Shanks, because it's going to be a little different now. He took out one of his dudes. Shanks officially, even though he didn't do it himself, Yasop did it. And so all of this is leading towards an eventual meetup with Luffy and Shanks, or Luffy and this clone. And I'm wondering how that's going to play out and where it all goes. But I'm interested in hearing your thoughts, because this is something that my chat and I, every single time that we stream, we discuss, because it is one of the most interesting parts about this arc, is this this invasion from the Holy Knights and what it means for the grand scheme of things with the Revolutionary Army. We know Dragon has been waiting for them to move, and so it's like now it's going to be their time to move. The fact they're even sent here, like on whose orders are they here? There's so many things at play. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts, man, because they are definitely the X factor here in Elbaf and where things can go.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you wholeheartedly with the whole like reaction thing, like seeing Luffy's reaction and seeing the Elbaf Giants reaction, because Shanks is such a pivotal part of the island. And I feel like this also makes me think of like the whole situation with Akainu and the Gorosei. If you don't remember, Akainu like kind of pressed the Gorosei back in like at the end of Dressrosa, and he kind of says he says a comment that I never understood till now. He says, "Oh, they went over your heads." And I'm thinking, how do you go over the Gorosei heads? If you like, how's that possible? Then I realized with the whole Shanks and Gonko use, or Shanks lookalike using the circle that Saturn used, they have a strong connection to Imu with the whole arrow that she was using as well. And then with the whole Figure Garling being a Gorosei now, that the Gorosei didn't even know he was going to be a Gorosei. They were completely shocked that he did it. Shows that maybe Imu is actually going behind the Gorosei's back and control, because Imu is the on the empty throne. So it looks like Imu is doing things without the Gorosei knowing, and this could lead to Doflamingo and Empel Down, why they have assassins there. Could the same way the Holy Knights went to Loki, they might have went to Doflamingo and had a connection there too. And that's why when Moria asks, like, where'd you get this order? Sengoku, and he's like, no, higher up. It looks like they might want to kill Doflamingo because he knows about Imu, and they need that to be stopped right away. And the whole situation with Sabo and Cobra, and like how Cobra saw Imu right away, you're dead as you see Imu. So I think this definitely is opening the doors to a lot of like spooky things in One Piece with the whole Holy Knights. That's why I love this whole Shanks lookalike thing. And also it develops his past a little bit with Figure Garling and God Valley and what Roger said to him before he made him cry when he asked Roger a question. So I love it, and I think that it's amazing. But I want to say this too real quickly. When it comes to Blackbeard, I feel like Giant Skypia was definitely like a Blackbeard was definitely have his paws on that arc. So I feel like we're talking about Shanks now. How does could Blackbeard be heavily involved with Elbaf, because he's making moves? He even told Luffy, let's make a move after they were watching the Holy Land Mary Jo. So what do you think, Recon, about Blackbeard and Elbaf?
So do you think that just similar to whenever I believe it was chapter 956, or yeah, I think it was 956, whenever he was like, yeah, let's go after that fruit, and we were like, what fruit is that? And then of course we saw that it was Hancock's fruit after Wano. Do you think that they would want something like Loki's legendary fruit? Because it was even that was something I was thinking about as well when the Holy Knights approached him in this chapter. Like, do they have knowledge of the fruit that Loki's eaten? Because obviously that is considered legendary. Do you think that Blackbeard could potentially be after Loki's fruit, and that could be a catalyst towards him coming here, even besides the Shanks stuff?
Yeah, well, I think the fact that Jaru mentioned how King Harold wanted to be Loki, we don't want it to be Nika, and Loki wanted to be Nika. His Delph fruit definitely has something to do with Nika. Like, it might not be Nika, like, because Luffy has that fruit, but it could be something very connected to it, which is why they're
like the actual gum fruit. He could have the actual gum fruit, and my chat's brought that up before, and I think that's such a brilliant idea.
Yeah, it's seeing Giant Luffy next to Giant Loki with his legendary Delph fruit would be cool to see in Elbaf too as well. But I think the thing with Blackbeard, I really want Blackbeard to come to Elbaf. But the thing is, and I think Oda might do it because he could shock us, but it looks like Oda's trying to lead Blackbeard somewhere else, because the whole Caribou plotline is so big. Like, the whole, Caribou knows about the Pluton and Wano, and Caribou knows about Shirahoshi, Poseidon, and Fishman Island. Like, and now Shanks left Elbaf too, and Luffy wants to know where Shanks is. That's what he's asking Loki. So Shanks is after Blackbeard. He literally was camping outside of Wano like it was Call of Duty, waiting for Blackbeard. So, like, honestly, I feel like there's so many things that could go on. I feel like Oda already, like, I think he did an interview where he mentioned like a lot of outside things are gonna happen when it comes to like the Elbaf, and then he's gonna like do a kind of like Egghead Island where he like looks at the outside plot lines as well. So I think whatever he does with Blackbeard, it's happening. Pretty much, it's like that one meme. It's happening, guys. We're gonna see something happen with Blackbeard. Like, it's not gonna be no small move. It's gonna be a huge move. Like, him taking out Law was a big move, but it's about to get crazy. And I think it leads to Shanks and Blackbeard, because why build up Shanks in this lookalike for him not to run into Blackbeard finally, like the fight that we've been waiting since Marine Ford and even before that. So that's my opinion on that.
Yeah, no, I could definitely see it. Going into your comment on what you talked about with Oda. I mean, even looking at what we're seeing right now, right? Like, we have to go around the world eventually, not just for Blackbeard and for Shanks, but also for Dragon, right? Because it, as specifically stated, when the Holy Knights make their move, so is Dragon. And so we have to see the Revolutionary Army make their move as well. We also know that Sabo is still trying to find Luffy so he can deliver the message from King Cobra about Vivi. And we also understand that eventually, whether it's within Elbaf or around the world, we also have to see what Vivi's up to right now, because that's a major plot point coming out of Egghead as well. So there's a lot of different reasons why we need to go around the world. Who knows when that's going to end up being? But it's definitely going to happen at some point for the reasons you stated. Like, there has to be a reason why so early in this arc we're already seeing the Holy Knights invade. It has to. And especially since this is what we believe is the final arc before we head into the final stretch of, like, the Laugh Tales and those types, the final wars and things of that nature. This is going to be our last opportunity to really set a lot of stuff off set a lot of stuff up that is going to be paid off later at some point. So I'm right there with you in regards to the around the world segments. And if we do get Shanks versus Blackbeard in this arc in, like, Egghead style, automatic top 1 arc. No question, bro. That's it, man. Yeah. Automatic, dude.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like that's the thing with Oda right now, because I kind of got the feeling of this in Wano, like a little bit of it, like with the whole outside plot line with the whole rocks and, like, the warlords being abolished and whatnot. I got the feeling a little bit. And then we got to Egghead Island. I got the feeling a lot with everything that was going on, like Garp versus Aokiji, Kid versus Shanks, Law versus Blackbeard, like Sabo.
The Reverie stuff
the Reverie
with Imu.
Stuff, yeah. A lot of it was insane. And then Egghead Island itself was insane with Kizaru, Saturn, and Luffy and Gear 5 and the other Gorosei coming. It felt like the end of One Piece. Like, when I saw Roger fight...
It really did, bro.
Yeah, when I saw Roger fight Whitebeard, like, that felt, like, surreal, like, unreal. And then I saw Egghead Island, I'm like, this feels like the end of One Piece. We shouldn't be getting these chapters. So I feel like that's the thing with Oda. He think he's trying to connect each arc to how it's going to end the story of One Piece. And I think Elbaf is the most trickiest one, because it looks like he's trying to go the Skypia route while also going the end of series route with the whole Nika plot line. And my biggest question was with Elbaf so far is, who is he gonna make the final villain? Because I don't think it's gonna be Loki, because Luffy keeps saying Loki's a good guy. Like, is he a good guy? Like, Luffy really wants to, like, have faith in Loki. And the last chapter with him going against the Holy Knights, I was rooting for Loki. I wasn't really rooting for the Holy Knights.
Oh, me too.
Yeah. So I'm gonna ask you this question, Recon. Like, where do you think Oda is going with Elbaf when it comes to, like, a villain? Because Oda is known for his iconic villains. Like, where does he go? Is it someone we haven't seen before? Is he gonna go with the Shanks lookalike? Like, where's your head at right now?
Dude, I mean, right now, depending on how long it takes for Luffy to meet up with the Holy Knights, they could very well be one of the major antagonists. I don't know, man. I mean, at this point, I'm right there with you in regards to Loki. He's getting so much. He's getting someone in my chat last week brought up the comparisons with, like, him and, like, Roger and Loki specifically, Loki and, like, Roger and Rox and like the legends that always portray these characters as, like, being really bad people, and then when you meet them, they're, like, really well. We haven't met Rox yet, but we assume he's probably a really cool dude, because the WG always loves, like, misrepresenting certain characters. And it's similarly in Elbaf. It feels like it's following a similar plot line to even, like, Zoro at the beginning of the series, where he was referred to as, like, this relentless, like, demon that didn't care about anyone, always mercilessly kill everyone, and that couldn't be further from the truth. So it's like Loki, and especially after the last chapter, really feels... I mean, bro, they gave this man a Gear 5 panel, Mac. Like, he was laughing with the Gear 5 pose. There's no way. Unless Oda's planning, like, a really cool dynamic with Luffy versus Loki as it progresses, which would be really cool. But right now I'm sticking with, we're going to find out who the true final villain of this arc is after the Holy Knights thing happens. I think the Holy Knights thing, specifically with with Stabs and Gunko, is going to lead into either A, more of them showing up, or B, is going to bring out who the actual true villain of this arc is, which I don't know is going to be an Elbaf, like somebody from Elbaf, or someone from the outside. Because there's also a possibility of, like, I don't know, a character. You brought up Blackbeard earlier. Like, that's not out of the realm of possibility that, like, Blackbeard shows up and is the major. I'm not gonna say he's like the final threat of the arc, but like a major threat within the arc. Because if this is the war land, Marineford technically, I mean, we could look at Akainu as like being the quote unquote final villain of that arc. But it was mainly a whole bunch of different obstacles that Luffy had to overcome before getting Ace. And this could very well end up being an arc like that as well, where if Ragnarok goes off and things go crazy, there may not be a single central final villain in Elbaf. It might just be multiple different obstacles that they need to overcome, whether it's this time thing that's been introduced, so like man versus nature, man versus self, with Usopp having to overcome his own fears in order to truly become the brave warrior of the sea that we all expect him to be at the end of this arc, and the stuff between the giants of the old generation and the giants of the new generation, how those ideologies are clashing. So it's like a lot of different elements at play and a lot of different obstacles that he could play with, where this might not be an arc where there is like a true quote unquote final villain, but Oda could surprise me. We could get like someone that we hate as much as Charlos, or someone as cool as Loki or Doflamingo. I don't know, but I do think that the arc, based on the first volume's worth of chapters, feels like it's going to be very, very, very long. So the fact that we're already getting this Holy Knight stuff tells me that they are not going to be the final villains of this thing. At least that's what I think. So I think it's going to be either someone that we have not seen yet from like the Heaven Realm, or an individual that maybe is going to betray someone later on or whatever, or someone from the outside that's going to pop in trying to cash in Money in the Bank, like a Blackbeard or something of that nature. So I'm interested in hearing your thoughts, though, because like you said, Oda is so known for his iconic villains, and especially in the post-time skip, all the way from Hody Jones until now, there has been a main central focus of an antagonist in each individual arc that Luffy has had to defeat. And if this does not happen, this will be the first arc since Zou where we have gotten through an arc. Well, even Zou, Jack got smoked by Zunisha as like the main central antagonistic force. So it's like this truly would be the first arc where that doesn't happen. So I wonder where your headspace is at.
Well, the thing with me is, I thought about this a lot. Like, I was thinking about this like whole villain thing, because it drives me crazy with this whole thing. Like, I'm like, who's gonna be that final villain? Because Egghead Island didn't really have like a final villain-esque. It was kind of like Rob Lucci did his part, Kizaru did his part, and Saturn did his part with the other Gorosei. But if you want to give a final villain, you could say Saturn, but it was more like spread out. And I wouldn't mind Elbaf having these similar like aspects, or like just more spread out. And then I started thinking about it. I feel like Elbaf's giving me so much Skypia vibes, and Skypia is known for its legendary NL villain, you know?
Yeah, that's true. And NL didn't get introduced for quite some time. Like, until it was, what was it, like a couple, like 15 chapters into the arc? I mean, obviously he was introduced really early on, but we didn't see him for like quite some time.
Yeah, like I'm like 15 to like 20 chapters in my reread of Skypia, and I still haven't even seen NL so far. So you're definitely right on that. And then I started thinking, like, because it's giving that Skypia vibes, I think there actually has to be a main villain. But I feel like a lot of the villains that Oda's saving are like for the final arc. Like, he has with that iconic chapter 1121 panel, like when it talks about Vegapunk talking about claiming the One Piece. You see a lot of villains in that last panel. You see Akainu there. You see Imu there. You can even see Kobe, because he's going directly against Luffy too as well. Like, not really a villain, but more so like he's going against Luffy in that aspect. But then I started thinking about it, Blackbeard too as well. Then I started thinking about it. Oda, I feel like maybe Oda is showing the villain right in front of our faces with Figureland Garling, maybe, because it would be a great way to build him up. Like, if you bring in his son as the Holy Knight with the hooded, like looking exactly like Shanks, and then you bring in Figureland Garling, newly appointed Gorosei, who is a legend on God Valley and was on that iconic panel, like that we saw all those iconic characters. And then now he's a Gorosei with like newly bestowed maybe Imo powers, like a mythical power as well. And the other Gorosei are looking like side-eyeing him as well. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe Figureland Garling comes at the end of the arc and becomes that villain. And if he is the strongest Gorosei, or one of the strongest Goroseis, it would definitely be a very worthy villain for Luffy. Because that's the thing with Luffy. Luffy's so strong right now. I think it's like, it's crazy to think about it, but he's one of the strongest characters in the series. Like, the only thing stopping him is like that time limit. But other than that, Luffy's incredibly powerful. Like, even Kizaru knew it. Kizaru had to sneak him some food so he could help the cause. And because Kizaru really didn't want to kill, he really didn't want to kill Vegapunk. So he definitely had to help Luffy out a little bit. But I think Figure Line Guardian might be that surprise factor. Other than that, maybe you bring in Imu and just end the whole story. But that's what I'm thinking right there. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking right there. But yeah, that's my thoughts on that whole situation there. I don't know, Recon, do you have any other thoughts on the whole villain aspect, or should I move on?
I think just one final thought. I love that idea, and I could definitely see maybe just the Holy Knights in general being like the main central antagonistic force. But and I love those two ideas, and the Garling thing sounds exciting as well. Now, the only thing I would add is if Oda continues talking, like, so the past few chapters have focused on the ways of the old versus the ways of the new, and how like the new generation is growing up in a different way than like the warriors of old. And so if there is a villain that's going to come from within Elbaf itself, I think they have to be the representation of the opposite of what Luffy believes in, which Luffy obviously believes in the warriors mindset of old, similar to Loki. So maybe if the villain comes in from within Elbaf itself, they're going to represent like the new era of Elbaf, which are the individuals that are not a part of the warriors of old mentality. And so that would be like the foil to that. But that's the only thought that I have in regards to the potential villain that could be in there, because there's too many question marks right now. To really come up with a solidified answer.
I like that point you brought up. And the whole situation, like, we could get like a complete ankle breaker where Oda just brings a new character out of nowhere and then they become the villain, which I wouldn't mind that as well. So there's definitely a lot of directions that Oda can go. The final thing I want to ask about, like, that's like in the outside world, like that's not really Elbaf centered, but I feel like Oda might implement it, is what are your whole thoughts on the whole cross guild situation going on here? Because look, like, they're a new Yonko crew. And how do you think Oda is going to implement them in the final saga? Because Elbaf's still a final saga arc, so how does he implement cross guild with everything that's going on? Because we know Blackbeard's connected to the revolutionaries and this Holy Knights as well, and the Celestial Dragons, with Lafitte watching over, and Blackbeard's connected to Shanks, and Shanks is connected to Elbaf. Like, everything is connecting, but I don't know where cross guild comes into this, because I feel like cross guild are a major component to the final saga. I think Oda is not just like pushing them to the side, but I don't know what he's going to do with that group just yet. So that's what I was going to ask you, like, where do you see cross guild when it comes to are they going to have any impact on Elbaf? And I'll ask you two questions actually. I'll combine these questions: cross guild and the Marines, because Akanu's definitely, like, we're seeing some stuff with Akanu too, with Kizaru and that whole conversation. Like, Kizaru saying, "Have you ever killed a close friend?" and like pretty much telling him to come to see what he's done. And I feel like that was really cool, because Akanu apologized to Kizaru, which is like just crazy. The fact that he did that, Akanu was really showing his human side more and more, like, because everyone hated him at the Marine Fort. So Akanu's a fleet admiral, he's part of the Marines. What do you think the Marines and cross guild, like, I want to ask you that real quick, and how it connects to Elbaf?
So I'm going to say, in regards to cross guild, the three characters that are consistently always leveling up together, quote unquote, are Kobe, Luffy, and Buggy. From the beginning of the series until now, through notoriety, through following, through maturity, through multiple different aspects, Kobe, Luffy, and Buggy have always paralleled each other in regards to their journeys. So I feel like Luffy coming out of Elbaf is obviously going to be an established, dignified Yonko that is going to be well respected around the world, as like he is 100%. Like, if somebody doubted it back whenever they initially made that decision back in Wano, they're not going to doubt it anymore after this arc. Like, this conquering the Warland is going to be similar to what happened with Shanks and Loki. This is going to be Luffy's opportunity to be able to do just that as well. And so if this is going to be Luffy's opportunity to do that, we're assuming that Kobe is going to attempt to get Garp back from Blackbeard. So he's going to have a major outside of the world arc as well for his end. So a major arc for Luffy, major around the world segment for Kobe. That means Buggy's going to have an unbelievable Elbaf / around the world section. If we look at Buggy's the last thing that we saw him in a prominent sense was his declaration that he wants the One Piece and he wants to be King of the Pirates in 1082. And we're going to have to see that on full display at some point around the world, which means he's going to have to the cross skills either going to have to come across someone crazy, like, you know how they're out there hunting Marines right now. They might come across someone insane, like an admiral or something, maybe crosses paths with like Green Bull or something, and we see how Buggy, Mihawk, and Crocodile take care of the situation at hand. I do think it'll be around the world. I don't see Buggy meeting up with Luffy again until they get to Laugh Tale, so I'm expecting them to stay away from Elbaf, but I think their impact will be felt without question. Like I said, their journeys parallel each other. They've always paralleled each other. So the higher Luffy and Kobe go, the higher Buggy's going to go. So I think he's going to have an extremely big arc, like I said, around the world wise. And that leads us into the Marines. Sword is going to be very key, especially with the Garp scenario. I don't know whether Oda wants to pay that off soon with what's happening over in with Garp and Blackbeard, and considering, like you said, if Blackbeard and Shanks potentially have a battle. The other key figure that's there, obviously, is Katakuri and the Big Mom Pirates, which we're expecting Big Mom to show up on Elbaf, and Katakuri, who obviously wants to go save his sister, who's with, and get revenge on Blackbeard for taking over Whole Cake Island. So there's a lot of different elements of potential surprise, where maybe they go, instead of going to Elbaf, they go for Blackbeard to go get Pudding back, and in the midst of that, maybe the Marines show up as well, and you have chaos on Blackbeard's plate, where he's got to deal with Shanks, the Marines, and the Big Mom Pirates. And so there's a lot of different scenarios there, but I feel like the Marines are going to be at the core of it, where they know that if the Holy Knights are moving, then Dragon's going to move as well. And we know that Akainu and Dragon have some sort of heat and backstory that's been cooking for a very, very long time. Egghead was an extremely huge arc for the OG Admirals, and this may be an arc for the new Admirals, which means we may see something big here with Green Bull and Fujitora in some way, shape, or form, whether it be through character moments and through like some major battles or whatever. I could see them getting something big happening in regards to their side of this as we head into the final saga, because the Admirals, what we got from Kuzan, from the OG Admirals, from Kuzan, Kizaru, and Akainu in Egghead was sensational for character moments for all three. It was just fantastic. So following that up with more Marine greatness, obviously I already said we're going to get the Kobe stuff, but as they get ready for what's about to be the biggest war in the history of the series, which is that final war for the One Piece, the Marines are either going to be on the way to a Lodestar or to a Elbaf to try to take matters into their own hands, which means they're going to be sending a whole bunch of individuals for Buggy and Luffy and Blackbeard and Shanks, or Akainu's going to take a different route and instead is going to go after the Revolutionary Army. I'm unsure, but I know he's going to make a move very, very soon, because Akainu has been sitting in that chair for far too long, and I feel like at this point, that cigar is about to break one last time, and that his fuse is about to break, and the dude is about to send out a massive fleet to go compete with what the Emperors are currently doing right now. Because like you said, going back to that panel, Oda specifically told us the 12 characters that are going to be in the hunt for the One Piece, and each and every single one of them have to have a prominent role here around the world and in Elbaf to let us know what we can expect in the final war. And Akainu's the biggest player within the Marines. Something has to happen here, bro. It has to happen, and so I expect them fully to make a move very soon.
Yep, I 100% agree. Like the whole first of all, the whole cross guild. Like, I also want to say this. Like, I've noticed the fans are starting to gravitate towards Scoffer Gabon, and like, if that's him on Elbaf or not, and like if Buggy being the leader of a Yonko crew, like he has a relationship with Scoffer Gabon as they used to be on the same crew. So Buggy definitely is, like, his reputation stands through and through since like his connection to the Roger Pirates, and so just like Shanks, he definitely has like a case. That's why his crew is so loyal to him. They feel like, yes, we know your history and we respect your history, so I wouldn't. I feel like I'm agree with you. I don't think Buggy's gonna come to Elbaf, but I wouldn't mind seeing Buggy interact with Luffy. Two Yonkers interact with like that know each other from back in the day, kind of like we saw Big Mom and Kaido during Wano. You could definitely see that with Luffy and Buggy, but it can definitely happen on Laugh Tale as well. And then with the whole situation of the Marines, I think the problem, the situation of the Marines is like I want to see them on Elbaf, but a lot of Marine things right now is endgame. And I think Oda really did that with the whole Vegapunk message. Like the Vegapunk message was the trigger for now the Marines have an end game to stop these guys. Like when it comes to the revolutionaries and the pirates that are really causing chaos. So I feel like now they have a reason to go all out. Like Akaino's been, you're right, he's been chilling with that cigar. So they have a big reason to go all out. And they can definitely send forces to Lodestar. They can even try to get the Road Poneglyphs and try to get the Laptop if they want to. And I feel like when it comes to the Marines, Green Bull is definitely a player too, because Oda's trying to expand Green Bull's character, Fujitora as well. And like honestly, I feel like the Marines, Kobe is gonna be that end game when it comes to the Marines, because he's trying to stop Luffy from getting the One Piece. So I feel like Kobe is more so after Elbaf, but we can definitely see some moves be made with the Admirals and Akainu. And Smoker's already on the move. So I think if we're gonna have a Marine component in Elbaf, I wouldn't mind having Smoker be that Marine component, because Smoker is one of those OGs from back in days, from Lockdown all the way to Alabasta. So I feel like Smoker definitely has improved after his like showing in Punk Hazard. And just how we saw so many other characters improve, I think Smoker is definitely going to improve as well as Hockey's Delfruit and Luffy's Yonko. We saw Rob Lucci, how he improved. He became awakened. So I think Smoker, a lot of people give him flack for like how he was showing, but I think he definitely is going to improve. We know he's been hanging out with Vegapunk, so that definitely something can go on with his powers and whatnot. But I think Smoker, it's not really his powers, it's more so who he is as a character, how he's one of the first guys who stood up to the Marines and the system during when they wanted to give him credit for Alabasta and Crocodile. So I think Smoker is going to be that Marine component where he's actually aiding Luffy in Elbaf rather than going against Luffy. And I would definitely love to see that. Honestly, I feel like Kizaru and Rob Lucci were kind of shaky when it comes to their beliefs, when it comes to the A-Cat Island. So I feel like Smoker, I don't know, what are your thoughts? Have you ever thought about Smoker being that component in Elbaf? What do you think?
Dude, I have not thought about that. I think that's such a cool idea. Let's, Mac, after we heard about the God Valley incident and we heard about the legends of Garp and Roger fighting together, I thought of so many different scenarios of what that would look like in the modern time. And obviously the Egghead incident was huge, but Luffy was fighting against the Marines, but there was cracks, like you said, in their systems and beliefs. Lucci was questioning it from the very beginning of the arc with like the Lucia stuff, and especially later on. Kizaru was the entire arc very conflicted, and so they never had the opportunity to fight together. So I think what's going to be really interesting, especially now that Kobe has declared that he wants to fight against Luffy, is when are we going to see that Luffy, because we know Oda loves his parallels with like the past and the present, who is going to be that when something crazy happens, that Marine in that one particular battle, that maybe they arrive attempting to fight against Luffy, and then they end up fighting with him because they want to prioritize the citizens or whatever. And I think Smoker fits that role so well because they have known each other for such a long time. And so to have Luffy and Smoker working together in an Elbaf setting that obviously is already calling back to the beginning of the series as is, but then you bring in a character like this, a Marine whom, by the way, going back into the lore of Elbaf and Big Mom's flashback, a lot of Marines originated from this island, right? Like the Marine system, thanks to the Mother Caramel stuff, is very, very deep within the core of this, thanks to the Big Mom stuff. And so having a quote-unquote good Marine, an individual who actually practices what he preaches and is on the side of justice that aligns more with the with what the old generation of Elbaf believed in, specifically like the warriors. I think that would be really interesting to see as well from that potential side of things, because maybe there is a section of Elbaf that are training warriors, Marines, as we've seen, like back in Enemy's Lobby with like the Oimonkashi stuff, for example, or like with Saul, who wanted to become a Marine, and we saw the the repercussions slash the rebellion that happened there, as whenever he saw like the actual what actually goes on within the system itself. And so we know there's ties between the Giants and the Marines, and so to have someone to be like a stakeholder in promising Giants that yes, there is a good future for the Marines out there, for specifically for the Marines and the Giants. So maybe there's some Giants that'll be like, yeah, I want to be a pirate, but maybe there's other Giants like Saul who are going to be like, you know what, I want to be a Marine like Smoker. And so when they see Luffy and Smoker fighting together, we'll have like a One Piece fan letter situation where we have a Marine inspired by a pirate and that are fighting side by side, and thus inspires the other people within the island to go out and do what they want to do as well. I think that could be a really beautiful message.
Yeah, I like that. I like the sound of that. The way you just did that, that sound, I could see Smoker, like the way I was actually seeing the moments, like the feel good moments between Smoker and Luffy because of their history. And I feel like also Smoker's Delphu and the whole island cloud, like you could definitely do something there too. Like, so I feel like there's definitely a place for Smoker and Elbaf that could help with the whole Saul situation, like you mentioned, and the Giants being less violent than their history says. So, and then the whole Mother Caramel aspect as well. So I love it, honestly. But yeah, honestly, I feel like I think that's great what we just talked about when it comes to Cross Guild and the Marines and overall Elbaf in general. I don't know, do you have any like final statements like before, because it is the beginning of the arc, so there's only so much we could talk about, but I feel like we kind of touched the bases on a lot of things. But any like final statement on your thoughts with where Elbaf's gonna go and how Elbaf is so far, like any final thoughts?
Yeah, so I guess the final thing would be obviously loving the arc so far. I still can't believe we're here. You know what I'm saying, Mac? Like, man, how did we get here, bro? Elbaf, holy crap, you know? I can't believe we're here, dude. 10 chapters in. But I guess going back to Skypia, right? Obviously, within that arc, we got one of the most legendary flashbacks in the Nolan Calgara flashback. And I truly believe, Mac, especially after last chapter, that the way they're building up Nika in this way, was he a destroyer? Was he a savior? It reminds me of the Nolan stuff from back in the day where we really didn't know until we got to see him with our own eyes. Mac, I think this is going to be the arc where we get a Nolan Calgara flashback, but with Nika. I think Elbaf is going to be the arc where we get the origins, well, one of the origin stories of One Piece. We get to see, similar to the Mont Blanc Norland and Calgara flashback, and how that fleshed out the 400-year ago period, but also made so many things make sense within the world of Skypia. I think the Nika flashback that we potentially could be getting here will be the Mont Blanc Nolan flashback of Skypia, and it's going to make so many things make sense, both within why the Giants are so valued all around the world, why Imu feared them, why the world government wants to clone them. So many different things are going to make sense after that flashback, but I think more importantly, we're going to be able to understand as the viewers this Nika situation and why Vegapunk said at the end of his message, who was actually the good guys back in that time period. Was it the Joy Boys, or was it the 20 Kings that they fought against? I think we'll be getting more clues towards the actual answers, just like we got in the last chapter with, was Nika a destroyer? Was he a hero? Was he a savior? When we see the flashback, we'll be able to make those answers ourselves. And I do think that is going to happen in this arc, because after this arc is going to be Void Century, and we know that's going to be for Joy Boys period. So if there's ever been a point for us to get the origin story of One Piece and the original dude that was behind so much of this in Nika, I think this is the time, and what better way than a Nolan Calgara-esque flashback.
Yeah, I like the sound of that because Nolan Calgara is one of my favorite flashbacks. It's so connected to Skypia as a whole, and the story as a whole too. And with the whole Louis Arnold aspect of it, I definitely feel like we could definitely get that with Nika. And it definitely helps the Joy Boy flashback as well, the Void Century one. So like if you flesh out Nika's origins and then you go into Joy Boy and then you go into Luffy in the present time, that would be a great idea in my personal opinion if Oda wants to go that direction. And I feel like as a fan, I'll be like, yo, I'm actually witnessing this. Like Oda's actually showing this. It would kind of feel like, okay, now we're getting closer and closer to One Piece finally finishing. Because yeah, you're right, we're finally at Elbaf, and it feels crazy that we're actually here in this arc. Even the Straw Hats felt it, like Usopp and Luffy were like, yo, we finally did it, we finally got to Elbaf. It's been since Little Garden that they've been trying to get to this arc. So Yeah, honestly, I love that idea of that flashback. And me personally, when it comes to final thoughts, I'm loving Elbaf. Honestly, it's giving me the Skypia vibes, and I feel like I really want Oda to take his time with this arc. I feel like there's no rush, and honestly, I feel like if it goes with one of those arcs where it's not that centered to the overall story when it comes to like overall, it's gonna be overall to the overall story, but the actual arc is like a lot of things contained. I wouldn't mind that as well, like kind of how Skypiea was, like because like they were in the middle of nowhere in Skypiea, so I feel like we still gotta see that Heaven Realm, and Elbaf is just beginning. So definitely these are a lot of early takes. I feel like if we make an exact same discussion at the end of Elbaf, our minds are gonna be in completely different places. So honestly, loving Elbaf so far, and I can't wait to see where Oda goes with this. And I had fun talking about Elbaf with Recon. We're gonna try to do another one, like a Hunter x Hunter discussion in the future, and maybe another One Piece discussion in the future as well. I don't know, Recon, you down for that or what?
Oh, of course, dude. Anytime, man. Anytime we can talk about Hunter x Hunter, One Piece. We didn't even talk about basketball, bro. I'm here to talk with my boy. You know what I'm saying? Right here, man.
Bro, we definitely gotta talk about basketball. Maybe the Super Bowl too as well. I know Lamar, he almost had it with Andrews and whatnot with Baltimore. Oh my gosh, that was sad. But definitely gotta say we could definitely do a sports discussion too as well. But yeah, expect more content between me and Recon for 2025. And yeah, we're just hyped for that Elbaf greatness. And yeah, pretty much, yeah. I don't know, Recon, any final words? Because I think I said everything I got to say.
Nah, man. Yo, Elbaf has been awesome. Very much looking forward to what Oda has planned this year in particular, especially if maybe if the Netflix season 2 drops this year and the remake drops this year, then that means there's going to be 2 points that are going to bring in a lot of eyes onto One Piece. A lot of people are going to check the series out for the first time with the remake. And the live action brought so many people onto the series that's going to cause like another wave of hype. And I know that Oda wants to have the manga in a good place so that the manga, the anime coming back, then the remake, and then the live action all popping off at the same time will cause a really nice boom period for One Piece once again. And so I'm looking forward to seeing where he wants the manga to be at that particular point in time to match all of that stuff that's happening. So it's going to be an exciting year, and I'm looking forward to experiencing this alongside with you, Mac, man. It's going to be insane, dog. Well, like you said, we're only 10 chapters in, and we already got a Shanks brother or Shanks himself or whatever it is already here. It's nuts, man. It's nuts.
It's crazy, but yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you. Definitely gonna be excited to see how the arc goes with Recon. And I feel like honestly, like One Piece, like I remember when Marineford was like just fresh in our minds and like Eddie's lobby. So like it feels like we've actually been on the Grand Line for so long. So definitely gotta
Seriously.
say, Elbaf is definitely an arc that I can't wait to discuss more. And yeah, that's pretty much it for me and Recon. We might do another video in the future, Hunter x Hunter, another One Piece discussion. But yeah, that's all it is. And peace out.